All right, we are the Defenders of Comics, and I am very happy to announce that we have Mark Poulton in the house with us, and we are going to talk all of his crowdfunding projects, but you have a specific one that you've already just launched too, correct?
Yeah, a couple days ago, we launched USAssassin 3 Graveyard Shift.
The first two were great, so I can't wait to get the third one for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you've had several crowdfunding books so far, and what number is this one now that what you've participated in?
Oh man, someone asked me that yesterday. I don't even know, but give me a second and I'll count them off. So there's been 5 Graveyard Shift campaigns, 2 SeaDog campaigns, Viking Wolf, and now 3 USAssassin campaigns. So that's 10.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what do you consider so far your most successful one that you've had?
Oh, Graveyard Shift 3. Yeah, that did $265,000. Incredible.
That doesn't make you mad at all.
Yeah, so yeah, it's crazy to think how everything has changed in like 3 years, because John and we launched Graveyard Shift 1 and we had a goal of $5,000. And I remember talking to my wife right before we launched that. I was like, I don't know what we're going to do if we don't hit that $5,000, because I don't have the money to put in half to print this book up. That's what John and I wanted to do. We just wanted to get this book printed.
Yeah.
And it was silly to think, because we were funded in like, I don't know, 10 minutes. And we've been on a roll ever since.
How nerve-wracking is that for you to push that button for the first time?
It's still nerve-wracking, especially now because everyone's doing like live launches on people's streams.
Right.
And just clicking that one button is, I worry about everything, but I'm pretty confident that I fill out every block that you have to before you can launch your campaign. But it still drives me crazy. I just like to get it over with it and launch it. So we launched Friday at 5 p.m. on the Red Valkyrie YouTube channel. And
Okay.
Shay was like, do you want to go over preview the campaign first or launch it? I was like, let's just launch this and get it over with so I can finally relax.
That's awesome. Now, we had Aaron Lopresti on about 2 weeks ago. 2.5 weeks ago, and I know he just launched on Ethan's stream, and massive. I think it's done even above and beyond what he was expecting it to do.
Yeah, his campaign, Wraith of God, is doing fantastic. We were battling out with him. It was USAssassin, Wraith of God, and she kept battling for like the top 3 spots, trending on Indiegogo that weekend. Nice. They kept beating us though, but to lose to a couple legends like Lopresti and Tucci is fine with me.
Yeah, that softens the blow a little.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit before we really jump into the USAssassin. One thing it really reminded me of, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but it gives me a little feel. I'm a video game guy too. It gives me a little feel of Call of Duty Ghost. Like that feel of the team and different, each player has a different strategy and that kind of thing. Is that what you were sort of going for, or do you have something else?
No, it's actually interesting to hear you say that. I'm actually not that big into video games. My biggest inspiration originally USAssassin was just born out of my love for 80s action films, especially the American Ninja films. I don't know if you guys are the same age as me, but Michael Dudikoff was my guy. I loved American Ninja.
Yep.
Well,
so
we are definitely that age range for sure.
Yeah, so that's what my love of that is what created USAssassin. I pitched it to Mike McMahon, and he loves all the same things I do. And then along the way, the book just sort of my other love, G.I. Joe, started to creep its way into the book. And I think now with the team aspect, it's definitely a G.I. Joe feel. Especially we added like USAssassin's counterpart, Zero Face. He's sort of the Storm Shadow to to U.S. Assassin Snake Eyes.
Nice.
So this is what we're talking about here. Yeah, Ace and I are definitely G.I. Joe guys too, so we're right with you on that. Speaking of G.I. Joe, were you disappointed in Snake Eyes, the movie?
I went in there with low expectations. My son enjoyed it. I thought it was all right. I knew it wasn't going to be the G.I. Joe I was hoping for, but I'll take it. It was like 2 hours of, just turning the brain off. So it was fine.
It was okay, wasn't it? My son he went with me too, and he's 16, and he liked it, but he doesn't have a lot of history for G.I. Joe. And I'll just say, hey, spoiler alert real quick. It felt like, hey, I'm going to watch a Spider-Man movie about Peter Parker, and at the very last scene, he puts on his Spider-Man costume and swings away, and that's that's the movie. That's like, okay. I mean, there was some good action, decent plot. I really liked the guy who played Storm Shadow, but man,
it really reminded me of the Zemo situation with Captain or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where we were all excited that, in the previews, all you do is see Zemo wearing the mask, and you literally saw that for less than 30 seconds.
Right.
With no explanation why it was there.
Yeah. Now, I do want to ask this. When did you start reading comics, and what are the comics that you mainly would read?
So we'll go back to G.I. Joe. I was the biggest fan of G.I. Joe, the cartoon and the toys. I don't know how old, probably like 10 years old. And then one day, watching G.I. Joe cartoons, the commercial for the G.I. Joe toys came on, and they were brilliant marketing people, because it started off with like a little animated clip, and then it went into like kids recreating that scene with their toys, and then the commercial ended with narration saying, for more adventures, check out Marvel Comics G.I. Joe number 38 or whatever, and it showed a picture of the cover, and I was like, wait a minute, there's G.I. Joe comic books? And I needed everything G.I. Joe. So I told my mom, like, we need to go somewhere where they sell comic books. And she took me to our local mall. They had a Walden bookstore, and they had a spinner rack with comic books. And I found, I think it was G.I. Joe 20, I want to say 28. I know the cover has Ace and Wild Weasel in a dogfight on the cover.
Oh, it's a great issue.
Yeah, and that was my first one, and I cut the little coupon out of the back, and my mom bought me a subscription. So that's the first comic I started collecting, and from there, every month I get my G.I. Joe, but I would see ads for other comics, and I started buying like X-Men, Spider-Man, there was a local flea market that had 10 comics for $1, and I would get my 20 comics whenever we went there. I get $2 worth of comics, and I was in heaven. And I started getting like other stuff, like I saw GI Combat, and I was like, oh, this has to be sort of like GI Joe. Not really, but it was still cool. DC's military stuff, Flash, Batman, Hawkman. Yeah, I couldn't get enough of it once I started reading them.
That's sweet. It sounds like you're real close to the age that we are, mid-40s. I'm gonna guess.
Okay. Yeah, I'm closer to the later end of 40. So
well, we're both 46.
Okay, I'm 48.
So it sounds like, just like us, G.I. Joe, Transformers, WWF.
Yep.
I mean, the list could go on, and I think you're right there with us.
Yeah.
So. Who we're going to go here, and I already know the answer, and I want to know your top 3 guys that you loved in the WWF.
So number 1, Roddy Piper. When I started watching wrestling, it was like the beginning of Hulkamania. I remember watching Sunday on USA, like at noon, USA Wrestling. They showed the highlights of Hulk Hogan beating Iron Sheik. And then the birth of Hulkamania. But I remember Roddy Piper, like being the everything that Hulk Hogan represented, he was against it. And I was just attracted, like, he was just so cool. Like, he spoke his mind. He was loud, obnoxious, and I thought he was the coolest. Other than Roddy, I always loved Bret the Hitman Hart. Even when he was just, part of the Hart Foundation, he just seemed like super cool. He had the slick back hair, the sunglasses. And then for like a third WWE guy, I would say Shawn Michaels.
So the young one with the tag team, Shawn Michaels, or when he went single?
Yeah, so like once he threw Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window, I thought he was awesome.
Yeah.
Now as you get older and you hear stories about Shawn Michaels, I was like, I don't really like him as much.
Right. Yeah. I do like over your right shoulder, I'm seeing in that glass case, you got a lot of WWF old figures.
Yeah. So like right over there, I have like now. We're talking WWF, but I loved NWA too growing up. Sting was my guy. I would watch, TBS every Saturday morning starting at 8:05. And then, it was must-see TV. Then Saturday night at 6:05. That was like my childhood. Tony Schiavone, Davy Crockett calling wrestling. The Horsemen beating down Dusty Rhodes in the parking lot. That was just,
I remember all that.
It's the golden age of wrestling for me. It was just absolutely great. Yeah, so like right over there, that's sort of like my NWA WCW shrine.
Okay, that's sweet.
Very good.
I didn't mean to go on that hiatus of wrestling, but
I'll talk wrestling all day.
WWF Saturday Night Main Event was my thing, man.
Yeah, that's what we had.
Absolutely loved that.
Yep. And then I remember, get really into it in the early 80s, of course, the Hulkamania. And then I remember kind of not into it as much. And then boom, the Stone Cold WCW, NWO era, I got really back into that, The Rock and all that kind of era. Mm-hmm. And then I really got into Mick Foley too. I'm a big Mick Foley fan. So that era was really kind of huge for me again. And then, of course, it's kind of dipped a little bit.
I have to admit, I don't even watch it anymore.
So I have the subscription to the Peacock network, and I watched SummerSlam the other night, but man, I haven't like watched a Raw or a SmackDown in forever. But I'm enjoying like AEW and Impact Wrestling, and I just went to a couple Ring of Honor shows over the weekend, so I'm still watching just as much wrestling. Unfortunately, it's just not WWE at the moment.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about you have your own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I love your intro. And I know your intro is part of your USAssassin Book 3 part video too, but it's very catchy.
Oh, thanks.
Where did you get the guy that did the rap for you?
Fiverr.
Oh, yeah? Is there a specific guy or just anybody?
Yeah, so, there's a guy on Fiverr. His name's Kibo. And a couple of years ago when we first launched the first SeaDog book, so I don't know how familiar you are with SeaDog, but SeaDog's alter ego is SeaDog spelled CDAWG, and he's a rapper. He's a canine rapper. So I hired Kibo to, do a rap, a SeaDog rap, and it was called "I'm Your Dog," and I thought he was great on that. So then I hired him again to do the USAssassin rap for our new campaign. And then I hired him again to do the intro song for my YouTube channel. And he just kills it every time. And like his turnaround time is fantastic. Like the intro for my YouTube channel probably took like 30 minutes after I submitted the order. He's fantastic.
That's awesome. And then obviously you have a very successful Twitter account. And then do you want to go ahead and go into, and I'm going to have to, real quick, I don't ever like to have the audio on until we get it. Let's go ahead and play your video.
I'm the mercenary, Flip Gordon. And I'm joining the USAssassin's team.
Yeah, this is USAssassin. They bout the action, ready to make it happen. Yeah, this is the elite government task force. Whole team is official. What more could you ask for? Yeah, this is USAssassin. You don't want drama. If they pull up, they blasting. Monsters of the graveyard shift. You ain't never seen a squad quite like this. We got Bazooka Dog, and he don't cut no slack. A dog with a giant bazooka on his back. Slither is a reptilian, alien. 3 snakes for a tongue. You don't want to mess with him. Sensei Steel, who is so mysterious, martial artist and trainer. Swift with the kicks. Zero Face is a bad guy turned good. The mercenary is a beast, get it understood. Takeout is a fast shooter, fast draw. Kirby is the Lone Ranger, but she hits hard. Lieutenant Ray, second in command. Yes, indeed. Who's the brains of the team? A super ninja at the lead. Yeah, hey, this is USAssassin. Yeah, this is USAssassin. Let's go.
I love that.
Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so like my whole idea behind that video is I wanted to, like, if USAssassin was a cartoon series, I wanted an intro that, you know, told you everything you needed to know, who all the characters were, you know, what they're about, and Kibo nailed it with the rap, and then I had a guy by the name of Ted Zagaro who did the editing of the video, and it turned out fantastic. And, you know, I have the stunt work by Flip Gordon, pro wrestler, the Mercenary from Ring of Honor. He has a YouTube show called The Mercenary, and we took some clips from that. So it looks pretty, you know, high production value. We got stunt work in it, and
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
and that's what really brings me to saying Call of Duty Ghosts. The Mercenary gives me that feel, especially at the beginning of that video.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
no, go
so
ahead.
Tell us a little bit about the Mercenary.
Yeah, so when Mike and I realized that the book was going to take on a team aspect to it, I went back to G.I. Joe, and I wanted my Sergeant Slaughter for the team. I wanted a real life member of USAssassin, and you know, I went to the wrestling world since I'm a huge wrestling fan, and Flip Gordon's gimmick was perfect. The Mercenary. At the time, he was a member of Villain Enterprises with the villain Marty Skrull, and he just looks like a badass. I mean, the mask is awesome. We didn't have to do anything to design a costume. What he wears to the ring, you know, makes him look like he's perfect for our world.
I'm guessing you know Lord Crackhead.
Yeah. What's up, Lord Crackhead? So I saw that Flip Gordon had a Facebook page, and I sent him a message thinking, oh, I probably won't hear back from him. He messaged me back maybe a half hour later and said, wow, this sounds like something I really want to be a part of. And we worked out a licensing agreement to incorporate him into the USAssassin comic book. He gets his own spin-off book as part of the campaign.
Wow.
And like the stars aligned perfectly for our launch. Our launch was Friday, August 20th. And I announced that date. And then Ring of Honor announced that they were going to be in Philadelphia August 20th. And Flip Gordon was wrestling for the Ring of Honor world title. I was like, no, this was meant to be. So I reached out and I told Flip that, hey, we're launching the 20th and you're going to be in Philly. That's 20 minutes from me. And he was like, oh, you guys need to come as my guests for the show. So we launched at 5 p.m. On the Red Valkyries YouTube channel. The launch went fantastic. We had to cut it off at 6, and then Mike McMahon, the artist and co-creator of USAssassin, he was here for the launch too. We drove to Philadelphia. We watched Flip in the main event. We had USAssassin signs in the stands. He saw us before the match, and when the match was over, he hopped the rail, walked through the audience, and came right up to us and started talking to us. He's like so excited about this comic book. He told us to meet him behind the arena where his car was parked, and Mike McMahon brought some artwork for him. We presented that to him. We have some great behind the scene video of him like going over the artwork, and he cut a video for us thanking all the fans for making the launch so big. It was a perfect night, and
that's awesome.
It just continued into the weekend. Mike and I did a signing the next day at my local comic shop. The owner had been asking me to come in for a while, and with Mike here, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to do it. Met a lot of cool fans. Someone commissioned Mike to draw Cyberfrog, and as Mike's drawing Cyberfrog, guess who happens to walk through the front door?
That's insane.
Wow.
Ethan Van Sciver walks into the comic shop. That's our, Ethan and I, we live about 10 minutes from each other. That's the comic shop we both go to. And he like DM'd me and said, Mark, are you doing a signing at Stormwatch Comics? I was like, yeah. He was like, where do you live? I was like, Ethan, we've ran into each other at this store, but that was like years ago. So I don't know if he remembered me from back then, but he I thought Mike was going to have a heart attack seeing Ethan walk in as he's drawing Cyberfrog, but Ethan gave him the seal of approval, said he did a nice job on it. And then
sweet.
He asked us what we were doing after the signing, and he invited us over to his house to have some lunch. My son was with us because he works on USAssassin too. He's the creator of Slither, co-creator of Bazooka Dog, and Chase went swimming in Ethan's pool while we talked about comics and everything that's going on. And then when it was time to leave, he was like, Chase, we don't let any kid leave our house without loading him up with toys. So he gave Chase all these. He gave Chase all these Cyberfrog toys. He gave me and Mike Cyberfrog toys. I actually have mine right here.
Oh, nice.
Come on, man.
He gave me a Cyberfrog. Really? He gave me the big Salamandroid figure. He gave us the hardcover Cyberfrogs with the slipcase, hats, hoodies,
swag,
t-shirts.
Man.
He gave us a whole wardrobe. It was incredible.
That's so cool.
Like there's people who had bigger monetary launches, but I don't know if any launch could compare to the weekend Mike and I had. It was fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt. That's
Is
awesome.
there anybody out there right now that's doing what you do and actually have a live connection with a real person to a character?
I mean, the only thing I knew about like that was before it was G.I. Joe with Sergeant Slaughter, and now that the guys that do the Action Force action figure line, they snatched up Sergeant Slaughter for that as well.
Okay.
No, they did. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Mark, I was curious too. I mean, I know this has been a couple years now that everyone's really got into the crowdfunding world, and a lot of people have enjoyed really great success. But really, how did you go this route, and kind of how did you get partnered with John Malin on Graveyard Shift, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so Graveyard Shift actually like came about 11 years ago. I pitched it to John back in 2010. I had just did a relaunch of Brigade with Rob Liefeld and Marat Michaels, and I was feeling pretty good because that was like the biggest book of my career at the time. Yeah. And John and I were both members of Rob Liefeld's message boards, where we were both guys who had worked with Rob in some capacity. So I sent John an email saying, hey, I have this idea for a comic book. It's basically the Universal monsters as superheroes. I think you would be the perfect artist for it. And John loved the idea of it. He got to draw monsters, and we started working on Graveyard Shift actually 11 years ago. But I showed as we started working on it, I showed it to Rob Liefeld, and he loved it so much. He was going to help us get it published at Image Comics. But at the same time, he started a relaunch of the Extreme books. I was writing Evangeline. He was going to bring Youngblood back, and he thought John would be the perfect artist for Youngblood. So that put a stop to Graveyard Shift at the time. John and I still worked on it in our spare time. But after Youngblood, John started doing work at Marvel and Graveyard Shift. Whenever he had a break, he would go back to it. until eventually he quit Marvel back in, I guess, 2017. He had the exit from there, and he did Jawbreakers with Richard Meyer, and that blew up. Huge success on Indiegogo, and John was like, "Hey, we're going to do Graveyard Shift on Indiegogo. It's the stars have aligned. It's now time." And we had a completed book at the time, because every time John had a break from whatever series he was working on Graveyard Shift. So we had a 48-page book ready to go. We launched it. I was telling you how nervous I was. We were asking for $5,000 for the first campaign. I think we ended up raising like $106,000, and we just kept the momentum going, making every campaign bigger and bigger. The third campaign just did $265,000. We're going to launch volume 4 early next year. And, USAssassin sprang out of the success of Graveyard Shift. During Graveyard Shift 2, actually before we launched it, John and I were talking about stretch goals for the campaign. And John was like, "What do you think if we offered your book, USAssassin, as the ultimate stretch goal? If we hit some ridiculous number, like $170,000, we'll give everyone a copy of USAssassin for free." Because John, Mike McMahon, and I, we have all known each other the same amount of time. We were all, Rob Liefeld message board guys. And in fact, when John and I first started working on Graveyard Shift, we launched it at Wizard World Philly. And we had a preview book, which are pretty scarce. I still have a handful of copies of them. But Mike was right there with us in Artist Alley, because he and I were working on a book at the time that never panned out. So Mike's been with us from the beginning, and John wanted to help Mike out too. So we agreed. It was let's do it. If we can hit 170, we're going to give every backer USAssassin, which it was a thick book. It was an 80-page book. It's actually bigger than Graveyard Shift. So the last day of the campaign, I forget, I think we were something like $35,000 away from the goal. And people kept DMing me and said, "Hey, are you going to run a campaign for USAssassin since you're not going to hit the stretch goal?" And I was like, "Just wait. We'll see. I'll think about it once this campaign's over." And it was so exciting. Every time I refreshed, the campaign page was just getting higher and higher, and we hit 170 with I think an hour to spare in the campaign. So we gave away over 2,000 copies of USAssassin with Graveyard Shift 2. So that was awesome to get the word out on the book. And we try to do cool stuff like that with all our campaigns, with big stretch goals and stuff like that. So we like to with Graveyard Shift especially, we like to give back to the community, either giving them awesome stretch goals or giving aspiring writers and artists a chance to get some paid work as well.
Well, speaking of that, let's go to what the Indiegogo page is. What are your big stretch goals right now for the USAssassin 3?
So right now there's we already unlocked at $5,000. People get a foil trading card of USAssassin versus Vlad from Graveyard Shift. $10,000 we unlocked the mercenary trading card. $15,000 they got that team print right there. And so 20,000 is going to be another trading card. That's Mick versus Slither. But we already we sort of announced what the big stretch goal is, and that's at 50,000. I'm not going to list it on the page until we get closer. But Mike's made it public. At $50,000, every backer gets a sketch from Mike on a backing board. So it's going to be a pretty good size sketch. If we get to $50,000, that's going to be a lot of sketches for him. That could be in the 700 or 800 backer range. Man.
He's going to be tired.
He's going to be busy.
Yeah, but the last campaign, Mike gave everyone sketch cards, and that was like 250 backers. So he loves to draw, and he's determined to do it. So I have all my faith in him that if he says he's going to do it, he's going to do it.
So when did Mike come into the picture for you on what campaign?
So Mike and I, like I said, I've known him just as long as I knew John Malin, and we were working on a book at the same time that John and I first created Graveyard Shift, but it didn't work out, and Mike had a lot of stuff going on with his personal life. But years later, we always remained friends. We always stayed in touch. He reached out to me, and I forget. I think he asked if I needed any pinups for something, and I was like, no. But if you want to draw a book, I have an idea. And I had that USAssassin idea, and I pitched that to him. And that was probably like maybe 2016, I think, that I pitched that to him. And 2018. I think it was 2018 is when we released it as the stretch goal for Graveyard Shift. Maybe it was 2019. It all blurs together after a while, guys.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I've known Mike forever, and he's an awesome guy, great artist. And the great thing about this USAssassin book is, a lot of the readers have said that they love watching Mike grow as an artist. From volume 1 to volume 3, he's really finding his style. Like if you look at volume 1 and 2, you notice a huge improvement. But if you look from 2 to 3, even a bigger improvement. Like I can't wait to see what he's doing on volume 4, 5, 6. He's really growing as an artist.
Well,
I really agree with you. Yeah.
I mean, that's insane right there.
Yeah, so that's actually that cover is by Matt Martin, the creator of Snowman. I reached out to him, huge fan of Snowman back in the 90s. So I was like, is there any chance I could commission you to do a cover? And I told him like what I was thinking. Lilith from Graveyard Shift, taking a bloodbath, holding USAssassin's mask. And he seemed like he was into the idea. Super hot cover. It's our most popular reward, so it seems like the fans really like it as well.
I mean, it's hard not to like.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great.
Now, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask a little bit too. We can talk all day long about the state of the comic industry and really what's brought all this great talent towards crowdfunding and people like ourselves are gravitating towards that as well. But just kind of wanted a little background too. What were some of your experiences at the Big Two or Image Books? Just kind of let us. What was it like there?
Because if I know right, this is where my question was going to go. You did some work with Rob, right?
Yeah, so I was doing stuff with Liefeld. Started at Image. We had relaunched the Brigade series. Then he gave me like the reins of an Evangeline series to be the writer of that. And when he started doing New 52 work for DC, they had given him he started out on Hawk and Dove. Then they gave him 3 new books to work on, and one of them was Hawkman. And he said, "Hey, if you want me to do all these books, I'm going to need some help." They said, "Sure. Who do you want to work with?" He listed me. They agreed to it. So he brought me on board to script his Hawkman run. Got to work with Joe Bennett as the artist and Art T. Bear as the inker. All-star team for me. I was in heaven.
Yeah, absolutely.
And from all accounts, I thought everything was going great. I took a trip on my anniversary with my wife to New York, stopped by the DC office. They gave me a tour. Editors were telling me, best Hawkman ever. I thought everything was going great. I worked at a mortgage company at the time as my day job. And one time I'm leaving work and I check my Twitter on my phone, and I see I have a notification that says, "Well, I hope Mark still has a job after this." And I'm like, what? And then I do some research and I realized that Rob had quit that day publicly on Twitter, that he had quit DC. And I was like, oh my gosh, to find out that you no longer have a job on the internet. And then I'm trying to get answers. I'm not getting any response from anyone. And then my editor emails me like later in the day and said, "Hey, I'm sure you probably saw this, but yeah, you're no longer working on Hawkman." And I was like, "Oh man,
Oh, come
this
on.
is awful." And then like it was a total like roller coaster of emotions. Then like the next day or 2 days later, the editor calls me up and says, "Hey, we talked it over and we already have all of Rob's stories. We loved what you were doing with this script. We're going to bring you back at double your pay to continue working on Hawkman." I was like, wow, this is actually going to turn out like even better because I'm getting like double the pay. And at the time, Rob was on Twitter. I don't know if you remember this or were paying attention, but he was like in this feud with Scott Snyder on Twitter over Batman.
Yeah, I actually do remember that.
Yeah, and one of my friends was like DM'd me and was like, "Hey, are you going to get in trouble for this?" And I was like, "I don't know," but I made sure to finish that script I was working on and turn it in that day because I was like, I want to at least get one paycheck out of this.
Wow.
And
Exactly.
it was a smart move because my editor called me up and was like, "Hey, Mark, how you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm doing great." I turned the script in, and the editor said, "Well, I hope you're doing great after this phone call." And I knew it. I knew. he was like, "Yeah,
you knew what was up."
Yeah, he was like, "So the official reason we're firing you is miscommunication." He goes, "But yeah, you're getting fired to get back at Rob." And I was like,
man.
"Oh, they just flat out told you that."
Oh yeah, my editor flat out told me. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
God.
yeah,
That's nuts.
So ever since then, I've been a little sour on mainstream comics, but even after that, I was like, I want to still make comics, and everything I pitched was like everything I'm doing now. I have huge love of 90s comics. I just thought they were so exciting. I love the stylized artwork, and the indie publishers were telling me, "Oh, your stuff's too 90s, too Liefeld." And even Graveyard Shift, we pitched Graveyard Shift practically to every indie publisher, and they were like, we don't know what to do with this. We don't know how to market it. And I always thought, like, if I love that era so much, there's got to be other people out there that still want this stuff. And thanks to crowdfunding, we found those people. And I feel so fortunate that all those publishers passed on Graveyard Shift back then, because there's no way we would have had the success we're having today.
Yeah. Now, I got a question for you. With you going and working on Hawkman, how do you prepare for that? Do you go back and research Hawkman and read past comics to try to get any kind of what the creators would do? I mean, to me, you need to respect what was created by the original creators, which I know they don't really do that much anymore. But how did you feel doing that kind of work with him?
Yeah, no, I went back and bought up all the Hawkman material I could, even though this was the new 52 and a fresh start. I was reading what Jeff Johns was doing. I was reading what Tim Truman did with Hawkworld. I went back and I bought one of the old like Joe Kubert hardcover collections of Hawkman. I just wanted to immerse myself in as much of the character as I could and bring what I thought were the best elements from each of those into it. So yeah, I did my research. I wrote the script, so Rob was dictating the story. I was writing all the dialogue, but I would fit in little things, here and there that I could to give it, pay homage to like those great, stories of the past.
And I appreciate that, because I feel now, I mean, with how crazy things are, we all know how crazy they are. I just feel now it's the name, and then the team just does what they want to do with that character.
Yeah,
and, man, being from comics back when we were in the 80s and stuff, and I know Ace does even farther back then, but it just they don't understand why we're upset, because we're so passionate about what we grew up with, basically.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of creators now, they want to put their stamp on the character. at the expense of the character, forgetting everything that made that character great and beloved by the fans.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, and I'll just throw a name out there because I'm not a fan, but like a Tom King who basically writes every character as himself. So
Right.
whatever personal issues he has, that's what that character has. And I know as a writer, you project some of yourself into your work. That's how it should be. But at this point, there is no respect or admiration for the character at all. It's completely, I'm writing this character as me. I'm going to use this platform to talk about whatever I want to talk about and push whatever values I have or views, and that's what we get.
Yeah, my main goal was just to tell like fun, entertaining stories, like the type of stuff that I grew up on that made me want to create comics. I write, like when I was working with Rob on Hawkman, someone asked him about like the type of comics we make, and he said, we make comics for the people that still have that sense of wonder. I remember the feeling I had when I got that first G.I. Joe, or when I first started reading Spider-Man, and how exciting everything was to me. I hope like the readers that get, the books I'm doing, get, experience that same sense of wonder with my books.
Going back to crowdfunded, one thing that I see that is maybe going to happen, and you might know more information than I do, but so many writers, so many artists have left the big two. Do you ever see them creating stuff together? Like, there's not too many people that can both do the artwork and write the stories. Do you see them combining together like you are right now with Mike and what you have done in the past with John?
Yeah, I think you're even seeing it now. Like, I think Donnie Cates just launched a new book with someone, maybe Ryan Otley. I'm not sure, but you'll see it more and more. There might be like a time where the writer is the bigger name than the artist he's teaming up with. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of collaborations. You're going to also see a lot of artists, seeing this as their big opportunity to not only, draw, but, this is their chance to write. And, you're going back to the 90s again. That was like the dawning of like the writer artist, all these guys were taking control of their careers. And I think we're going to see a lot of that, but we'll also see a lot of, mainstream writers coming in, and they're going to have their artist buddies along for the ride with them.
Yeah, I think that's definitely where things are headed, because I mean, we've probably seen Ethan's stream and people talk about the current page rates at DC and or Marvel. And I mean, I'm not in the industry, but I know it's pretty darn low. And what you guys are probably pulling in on crowdfunding buries anything you're going to be making at the big two right now.
Yeah, no,
this some marquee name. I mean, like Scott Snyder or something like that.
Yeah, no, this has been the most successful time of my career. People always ask me like, "Oh, do you think you'll ever go back to DC?" I don't see why I would. I mean, I get to work on my own characters, and I'm more successful now than I've ever been.
Yeah,
we have a question in the chat if you want to answer this. Omar just says, is there a specific person you'd like to work with in the future?
Man, I could name like a bunch of artists I'd like to work with. Brett Booth. Ethan Van Sciver would be great to collaborate with.
Ethan.
Yeah. Matt Martin. Dan Fraga. There's a ton of people I'd love to work with. I'm pretty busy right now though, so I think they'd have to add another day to the week for something else to happen.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of Ethan, and I know there's controversy there. I mean, I personally really enjoy his content and stuff like that. But what has he meant for crowdfunded people that he can help guide and try to help launch certain things and stuff like that? What do you think he is meant for this group of people?
Oh man, he's meant the world to this movement. I mean, look at Aaron Lopresti. He launched Wraith of God this past weekend, and the book was fantastic. His book before that, I think it was
Garbage Man.
Garbage Man. It didn't even reach funding, but Wraith of God is already over $50,000. Yeah, it's going to be a $100,000 book, and that's Ethan's promotion. Ethan made a point to especially like once the mainstream creators started giving Aaron a hard time for hanging out with us. and Ethan made it a point like we need to rally around him and let's make this book a huge success for Aaron. I mean, he deserves it. The guy's artwork is fantastic.
Yeah,
he's a legend in the industry.
Yeah.
But
he's a really nice guy too. I mean,
yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
These people get attacked for nothing, and but yeah,
even like the short time I've gotten to hang out with Ethan, he feels like a huge responsibility to help, bring all these people with him and make them just as successful as he is. So, yeah, he's a huge part of this. The biggest, probably.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just been a really neat thing to watch over the last couple of years. All you guys, kind of together. Some people are a little more part comic skating and some aren't, but I mean, it's really neat how everyone kind of comes together and does respect each other and promote each other and really wants to see everyone succeed in this platform and just to produce good books, be there like, hey, we want to produce something for our fans. We want to produce escapism and we want comics to be comics again.
Yeah. I've honestly never experienced anything like that in the mainstream. It was almost like everyone was out to, stab you in the back and take your spot if they felt you were higher up on the totem pole than they are. Here, it's everyone helping each other, sharing what printers we're using. Hey, come on my channel to promote your book. In return, that they have you on their channel. We're building this network where we're all helping each other out.
Yeah, I just can't imagine working in an environment like that. Just listening to all the stories from you guys about at the Big Two, and I'm thinking, at my job, if I had to go in every day and experience that kind of toxic soup, it's like, why do you want to subject yourself to that?
Yeah, no, when I was working on Hawkman at DC, all these people came out of the woodwork that wanted to work with me. When I got fired, they were all like, I think I can do this project on my own. So it was crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we no longer have any use for you. We can't use your recognition or whatever on our project. So, we don't need you.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
I think what this also proves to me big time is you all, the creators, you all have creativity. And what we're seeing in Marvel and DC right now is they're just lazy. They're just grabbing successful characters and changing basically their whole origin to fit their new thing instead of making a new character completely from scratch and then promoting it or using one that's already there. They're too lazy. And I hats off to you guys because you prove that you all are creative. It's not you guys. It's the main guy, the people at the top.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like the lack of new creations being made at the Big Two. It's just like reimagining their established heroes they already have. Like the great thing of being a fan back in the day was seeing all these new characters. Like the 90s, we had like characters like Sleepwalker, Cable, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, Darkhawk, the Guardians of the Galaxy. It was just like all these characters that I never saw before, and we were getting them. And why don't we get new characters anymore?
all we get is 52 issues of Batman. And now Coach loves Batman, and I do too. But
Yeah.
I mean, you look at DC's latest solicitations, it's like, are you kidding me? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Hey, Batman
Everything's
might wake
Batman.
up tomorrow being Tim Drake or Jonathan Kent. So,
Oh, it's going to happen. So,
hey, I do
Don't
want to
doubt
say, I don't have much more. I wouldn't mind talking wrestling some more, but I do want everybody to know to go out there, go back this. This book looks insane. The artwork, the stories that I've already read. I mean, I'm all for this right away.
yeah. And Mark, is there a way, or how do you advise folks who want to go back and get some of the older books? Is there the ability to do that? Is there an eBay store? Like what?
Well, all the old volumes are available in this campaign. If you want the first printings, there's limited number of the first printing. But one thing I did do, I made a collected edition of volumes 1 and 2. So you can pick up the collected edition and book 3, and you'll have everything you need.
Nice.
And if you signed up for the mailing list, I sent out some links to secret discounted tiers. I had a tier in mind for the new reader where you got that collected edition and book 3 at a discounted price. If you want to go all in and get everything we're doing, there's a discounted link for that as well. And then John Malin a couple days ago sent out a Graveyard Shift 3 update, and I included a link in there for all the Graveyard Shift backers, a secret tier, just as a thank you, because those guys have been with me since the beginning, and I just wanted to do something cool for them.
That's awesome.
Awesome. And hey, one last question too about this. Is it too early to tease that character we were talking about that you're wanting to launch in the near future, or do you kind of want to wait on that?
Oh, no, we can talk about it.
Yeah, can we pull that up? I thought that looks really cool too. I mean, that's right up my wheelhouse too.
Sorry, I'm getting to it right now. All right.
There we go. All right.
So the Black Owl, based off the public domain character, the Black Owl, a reimagining with artist Greg Poulton. That's going to launch, I think, early 2022. The book's actually all drawn, half colored, about 25% lettered. I like to get as much done as possible on my projects before I launch them. That way I can turn them around super quick. But yeah, this Black Owl is the grandson of the Golden Age public domain Black Owl.
Nice.
So we actually have cool flashback sequences with a different artist who draws sort of in a retro style, and the pages are colored in a retro style as well. That will tell a little adventure of the Golden Age Black Owl that sort of ties into whatever our Black Owl is in, like discovers his grandfather's trophy room, his secret lair. So if he picks up like an artifact from the past, his grandfather's past as a superhero, we go to a flashback and you see where that trophy came from.
Oh, I like it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This looks really cool.
Thank you.
Now, is this going to take place kind of in the same universe as Graveyard Shift, US Assassin, or is it something separate?
Yeah, no, I love the shared universe. So Black Owl, you might see him crossing over with US Assassin and the other characters at some point.
Okay.
I like that.
I'm a big fan of that too. I love the shared universe concept. So, all right.
I like that a lot. Well, that's all I got. We're really enjoying Crowdfunded. We want to really back you guys and try to get the word out as much as we can. We got this. We got a TikTok account that we're going to make clips of this interview on and try to push it out there. So we wish you the most success that you can have. But man, you've already nailed it. It's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys helping not just me, but all indie creators promote our books. The word of mouth is how we're selling comic books these days. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we'd love to have you back on when you launch Black Owl. And
yeah, absolutely.
Anytime we can get together, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it.
All right.
Well, I think that's it. We got people wanting to talk WWE and WWF, but man, I could go 3 hours on that. So it's probably
might have to get together on a special wrestling episode.
And, let's book it, man. I'm all for it.
Oh,
that would be awesome.
I'm definitely all for that. That'd be amazing. Well, that's all we got.
Right.
I appreciate you, Mark. And
Mark, thanks so much.
Yeah, anytime, guys. Thanks again.
See you guys.
Okay. Take care.